and welcome to the first episode of Propagation Preservation. In today's video, we're going to be going over the brown turkey fig. It is Mississippi's native fig tree, and this tree is average about 50 years old. What we're going to be doing in today's video is we're going to be taking cuttings of certain parts of this fig tree, so that way I can show you how I propagate, and maybe you'll have success with your propagation too. And so the first thing what I do in determining which cuttings I want to take, I start looking at the leaves. And on average, you take your hand and you put it up to the leaf, and that tells you about how big your cutting is going to be. I see a lot of cuttings. I see 1-year-old cuttings. I see 2-year-old, 3-year-old. This is a 1-year-old cutting. This is 1 year old, this cutting. Now I'm gonna set this in my bucket and I'm gonna get a 2-year-old cutting. The cutting on the right is 2 years old. The cutting on the left is 2 years old as well. On any tree, when your lines are real close together, that's where the years change. And so for this particular cutting, or on any cutting for that matter, on the fig tree or on any tree, what I like to do is I like to get just a little segment of last year's cutting in with this year's cutting. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it, spin it around, from this point right here to this point right here. And that's all I'm going to do for now. That's all I'm going to do to it. I'm just looking for a few good cuttings. I think this one right here is a good cutting. Now some people might say, well, why'd you take 2 cuttings at the same node? Well, so that way I healed off the cutting over there. This cutting is healed off, and if I wanted to come and cut this, I just come and cut it up a little bit higher from node to node on the line. These 2 get removed. Now from this point here, this cutting is still not ready. You need to come and you need to cut it on its line. Okay, we could come and cut it like this. I'm going to show you 2 different ways. Alright. And you notice how small the cambium is? I'm going to cut it a different way to show you the cambium. See how big the cambium is now? You can see it all in the center. But I do not recommend cutting it this way. You've exposed too much. And if you don't know where to cut and how to cut, this right here could be the potential for disease and root rot and all of those things you don't want. So the way I recommend you doing it, I did it this way to show you the cambium. Let's see if I can find that other piece. versus this one. See the difference in the two? This is healed off and ready. This is what you would want if I was to put it back together. Okay. Now this would be good for a leaf cutting, but still you've exposed too much of the cambium. So coming to this one, same thing. You want to come, I'm going to do this real quick. You want to come and you want to cut. You can cut. That one's ready. And then what you do with your leaves, see if I can do it. You never want to pull your leaf down. A lot of people will tell you you want to come and you want to do this to your leaves. You don't want to do that because that damages everything. You want to fold it up, and if it doesn't snap, which it should, sometimes you can get away with doing it. Turn it upside down and snap it. Now this cutting, this is a leaf cutting. This would be ready for propagation if you so desired to go that route. I like going this route. It's a sure bet. Same thing with this one. You heard the snap. These two are ready. Those two are ready. Now, any leaf that goes down in the dirt, you want to remove. That's why I went on ahead and removed these, but I removed it carefully. I do not recommend doing it this way unless you know how. Let's see if we can find a few more. Here's a good one. Why don't you come in here and zoom in right here and let's talk about this, because this is real important. Notice how this is growing. This is its lateral branch, or its terminal. Okay, the terminal is always at the top. Okay, the lateral comes out to the side. So all the energy right now is coming, and it has stopped. All the energy is coming, and it has stopped right here. Why do I say that? Well, one side of the node is producing, while the other side is producing nothing. This one, there's its first year, here's its second year. Okay? This side, there's nothing. And then this side, believe it or not, that's a 2-year-old cutting. Same thing. There's its first year. You know, this could even go into 3 years because the rings are real close together. But I'm going to say this top cutting is 2. This one is 2 as well. But you see the difference in the size of this cutting and this cutting. All the energy is going to the left side. So what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to heal off this cutting, and then we're going to heal off the cuttings itself, and that's where we're going to stop the video. Okay, so the first thing I do is I want to make one cut straight across. You go from line to line. Now, this one's ready. This cutting right here, none of this, you could still use this, but we're not even going to fool with it. We're just going to come and we're going to take this cutting off. That's a 1-year-old cutting. This one's 2 years old. I'll go ahead and take it off. You can come and cut the years in between if you want to. Here's the third one. I'm going to cut it off. Now from this point, this is where I think the doctoring comes in, because everybody most of the time would stop here. But believe it or not, you can still get all of this to produce back just like this. And I'm going to show you how. And then we're going to stop the video because I'm getting a little excited right now showing you. Notice I said this cutting is going, the energy is going here, but there's nothing going here. So we're going to follow the disease and see how far down it goes. I'm going to come in, I'm going to cut it on its first line, on its first set of nodes. That automatically got rid of it. That one's ready. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one. This side is growing, but this side is not. And then you got this little side right here. That was a 2-year-old cutting. So we're going to come and we're going to cut it. You know what we're probably going to do? we're going to expose this one. You see how that's brown right there? There's disease right there. If I guarantee you, if I cut this, you'll see brown in the center. There, well, we didn't see brown in this center, but you see how the cambium's real small? That tells me that there's a lot of energy here. But it's going to be hard to get that out. So we're going to come and we're going to cut it down on its first node, right under it. See if we can get a good cut. And just as I thought, there's a little bit of brown right there, but not much. When you take your cutting, your cambium has to, in order to be a good cutting, it has to be in the center of your cutting.